Yesterday, we told you about the stunning live television killing of two individuals from WDBJ. And we now know that the alleged shooter, the presumed shooter, the admitted shooter, because he did post a video to Facebook from a first person perspective showing himself shooting these individuals, Bryce Williams, has killed himself. He sent a chilling fax to ABC News, according to the network, where he said, quote, "I've been a human powder keg for a while, just waiting to go boom." The document purportedly from the same man who gunned down Alison Parker and Adam Ward yesterday started a manhunt, and it ended when troopers closed in on him, Lewis, and he turned the gun on himself. It seems to be the most frequent ending to these types of manhunt shooter type scenarios. I don't think it came as a surprise to too many people. And I guess what we can say is that it did not, the ultimate demise of this individual did not involve injury to any additional people beyond the tragic deaths of Alison Parker and Mr. Ward and the injury of that third person who was on site at the shooting.
Right. So that was a good thing. The thing that was different about this case was that whole social media aspect of this, having the killer live tweeting while evading police. And we don't really see anything like that.
This 23-page fax arrived to ABC about 2 hours after the shooting, and it came from someone referring to themselves as Bryce Williams, which was, as you may recall from yesterday's show, the on-air name of Vester Flanagan II. Bryce Williams was the name he used when he worked as a reporter for WDBJ, and we have every indication now that he was indeed a sort of disgruntled former employee of that station. Disturbing, not terrorism in the sort of traditional sense, a disgruntled former employee. And in fact, tomorrow we're going to talk, Lewis, in our sort of flashback segment about the incident involving the disgruntled former employee that shot up around the Empire State Building area in New York City, which ultimately led to New York City police killing him and injuring 9 other bystanders. So this disgruntled former employee thing, not completely uncommon, and at the same time brings back some pretty serious questions about guns in the United States. This specifically is about the idea that disgruntled former employees think to turn to guns when they want to sort of rectify the disgruntledness that they are experiencing. And that is something which is more common in the United States than in other countries at our level of development. That idea of very quickly going to the gun to try to respond to a disgruntled employment situation.
And we have to ask ourselves, should employers have to consider this when they are considering terminating someone? Do they have to say to themselves, how do we handle this? This guy is clearly disturbed. This person has an issue. Do we fire them? What if they shoot up the place? How do we handle this?
Well, as a general thing, the reaction of the employee upon being fired is generally considered, which is often why you have multiple people sort of in the room when you're communicating the firing or layoff, and you typically have them escorted out to make sure they don't steal anything or destroy anything. But you're talking about a sort of longer timeline in terms of, fine, we get them out of the building with no incident, but what happens next? And I mean, it's a very sad reality that this is something that employers have to think of when making decisions about employees.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we would live in a much better place if that were not a factor.